On this special episode of Supercars Torque, I've got an idiot in to ask some beginner questions. This week's episode brought to you by Pepsi Max. We're just giants. They're not small cans or anything. We're big fans of Pepsi Max. So
delicious.
The normal taste test is we know what it's going to taste like. So and they don't.
Cheers, Dave.
Oh, cheers. They don't sponsor the series anymore, but they were a long time sponsor. So you know it kind of fits in. I'm looking for suggestions for other things to try.
Delicious.
Matt's baked some cookies as well. So anyway, Matt's one of my mates. He's not a big Supercars fan or anything, but he's
Makes up enthusiasm.
and he's interested to know a bit more about the sport. So he's written me a list of questions, kind of some beginner questions, I suppose. I haven't actually read any of these, so I don't know how bad they are.
They're not good.
So we'll enjoy some cookies and some Pepsi Max, and hopefully this is a bit informative for someone out there.
Right, so Dave, I have a list of, I had to change them. They were F1 everything questions.
And I kind of missed the brief.
I failed the brief very, very quickly. So my first question, Dave, how big is the pit crew? I've seen footage of V8s and F1. They look roughly the same.
There's a fair bit different between them. So, like F1, you've got 3 guys who change a wheel. In general, in supercars, you've only got 1 guy. Actually, all the time, you've only got 1 guy changing a wheel at a time. And depending on the races and that, sometimes they might... Or there's 4 guys allowed over the line or whatever to change a wheel. And then you've got a fuel guy and the air spike guy. So that's it. In the endurance races, then they're allowed a guy over the line as well to do the like the belts and that. I think they call him a driver assistant. So essentially, you've got 5 guys, and then in endurance, you're allowed a 6th guy over the line for that. Oh, and the car controller.
What's a car controller?
He's the one who stands at the front.
He's the one with the stop go.
Yeah, but they more stand in front. In the supercars, they don't have the stop go.
Side question: the people that work at the lollipops.
Yep.
Do they graduate through the V8s? Is that a part of training?
What, the ones at
the ones crossing? That do stop slow? Can they move up to V8?
The traffic controllers at the roadwork. I was thinking of the school crossing.
No, that's earlier. It goes school crossing, construction,
and then
V8, F1.
Sure, why not?
We'll look into that. Okay, my next question: what type of fuel do they use? Is it simple RON 98?
Common misconception, this one. A mouthful of biscuit. Didn't time that well. They actually run an ethanol E85 blend. And I did actually cover this in a video recently. It's going to be BP this year, that I think is still from Race Fuels Australia, I think the supplier. It's the same fuel as last year, but instead of it being Shell V-Power or whatever, it's going to be called BP Ultimate Super Fuel.
Add-on question: do they get a 4% discount
if they bring their shopper docket in?
Yes.
No, I don't think so.
Do they just buy it?
I'm not sure if they actually pay for the fuel. I think it's with the sponsorship.
It's all free.
Yeah, I don't think you actually have to pay for it because they all run the same fuel. So it's a control component. So no one makes the rocket fuel that they used to make that you had to handle with gloves and a mask.
So now it's all safety and...
Well, yeah, and so it's even. So you don't... in F1, you have special fuels if you're the factory team or whatever. Whereas in supercars, everyone gets the same. There's no... You can't cheat with it or whatever, or you can't get an advantage from having a better fuel.
Now, this one's inspired by... I just saw the Fast and the Furious new trailer. So, can you put NOS in your supercar?
No. Definitely not. There has been stories of things like this in the past. No, not these days.
No NOS in the car.
I don't think anyone would even try it these days.
You don't have a secret computer that says danger to manifold? And
they don't. just adjust things on. You can't even actually change the fuel mixtures anymore because you used to be able to lean them out on the go, and now you can't actually play with them on the run.
Okay, so Vin Diesel have a lot to answer for. Okay, here's a scenario. Let's say the number one driver gets sick. There's a backup driver, right?
Kind of.
What happens if both your drivers are, I don't know, get gastro?
Well, then you might be in a lot of trouble.
You can't just chuck in a pit guy, or...
Not really. There has been a few situations, though. We had James Courtney a couple of years ago. He got hit with a pit board. They had a army helicopter, did a flyby thing and came down near the pits. And they have these boards around the air container, or the air bottles that do the rattle guns and that, and it blew it over and it smashed him in the chest. It actually broke a few of his ribs and that. He was quite badly injured. And luckily Jack Perkins, his co-driver for the endurance races, was there that weekend, taking part in a co-driver session, and he took over for the rest of the weekend. Last year at Gold Coast, that was an endurance, so they had the two drivers, but Richie Stanaway got stood down for reasons and got told to go home. And one of their Super 2, it was Gary Rogers, they had some cars in Super 2 last year. One of their Super 2 drivers, in the morning, if you've got a helmet, you can drive the car.
So they don't usually have a spare just sitting around?
No, but they usually, if you really need to, you can probably get a guy from a support category, or you might have one of the co-drivers there anyway on the weekend or something like that. Maybe fly someone in quickly for the weekend, things like that. Doesn't happen very often, but it does.
This is another driver-related question. So most races go for what, 2 bit hours?
They're usually, last year at the sprint rounds, they were 125, I think, for the Saturday and a 200 for the Sunday K race. This year they're all going to be 200s.
So they work. So my question is like, how do toilet breaks work?
Well,
important question. People need to know.
Some of them just go in the car.
They've got like a little bag?
No, they just go in their suit and in the seat. And
that's kind of gross.
The poor pit crew afterwards have to clean it up.
Do they just get a hose down at the end of the night?
Well, yeah, you need a big hose down. And I've heard of certain drivers in endurance races where they might deliberately have a leak in a safety car situation, and the co-driver jumps in like shortly after and gets into a puddle, and not so happy with the other driver. And some of the pit crew's not so happy when they do it early on in a race, and say at Bathurst, if they do it early in the day, and it takes a bit of time to get to the car afterwards, so the puddle might have been sitting there for 8 hours or so.
Marinating.
Yeah, and apparently it's not the best smell by the end of the day. So,
so another car-related question: Can you keep food in the car to eat along the? For example, could I leave some cookies in the car?
I think that one's for the dog now.
Goodbye, Cookie. I'll miss you.
In the old days, yes, they used to. At Bathurst and that, there'd be some guys that put a sandwich and things like that in the glove box. I'm trying to remember who it was. Someone rolled a car once at Bathurst, and I remember having like an apple and a banana rolling around in the car as they went over. But these days, no. Probably the closest to that was when Dave Reynolds was having his moment at Bathurst the other year, where he kind of drained himself a bit too much, and they shoved him one of those energy gel things into when he had a pit stop, and he was quickly pouring one of those down his gullet.
But all sensible food now.
Get his electrolytes back.
That's what plants crave.
Yeah, well they don't carry food with them. It's with the full face helmets and stuff like that, it's a bit too hard to do anything like that.
Alright, my next question. At the end of the race, could I legally drive the V8 home? And no. If not, what would it take to make the car road legal?
You couldn't. Essentially, no.
You can't just finish and go, boys.
No, it's not driven where they took the Indy cars down the street after the race.
Just go for a
because
cruise.
they had an argument. Yeah, I can't. If you haven't seen Driven, get on it. It's Joe Tonto. It's an amazing movie. Sylvester Stallone should kind of be shot for that. But it's a fun watch. You see guys like Montoya and Vassar and Blundell and a few of those.
Really old movie now.
Yeah, very. I think early 2000s.
Early 2000s.
Yeah, so it's a good one. Joe Tonto's quarter retrieval system. It's fun. Anyway, no, you can't drive it on the street. I did hear a story of someone buying an old Ford supercar and putting the engine and gearbox and that into a Falcon, and it's getting around in Melbourne. Oh. There's probably a few. I don't know. I never saw it.
I think I've seen a safety car because there's a yellow safety car on Sydney Road.
The safety cars are
just road legal.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah. So I can see safety cars going home, but not the race cars are so far. They're not even on the chassis custom made thing now with bolt on.
If I drive a safety car home on the freeway, can I slow all the traffic down?
Oh, you can do that just driving any car.
But can I legally do it in a safety car? Just put all my lights, the yellow lights, and get someone to wave a flag?
I wouldn't. People ignore ambulances and police cars.
And if anyone tries to overtake you, can you give them an overtaking penalty?
Turn the green lights on and the Jamie Whincup specials.
Now, my next question. Do they ever invite international people to come down to these races just to have a, kick around?
Drive?
Yeah.
Well, they had the Simona experiment where Simona Di Silvestro came for 3 years and had a drive. She's,
I meant like
a Swiss lady.
I meant just like, Bathurst will just invite some... we'll just invite Lewis Hamilton to come down for a race.
Yeah, they would, but he'd want too much money. They had the wild card last year with Alex Rossi and James Hinchcliffe at Bathurst. They're two IndyCar stars, if you
follow IndyCar. I'll write some more IndyCar questions. Right. My next question. What training do you need to be a V8 driver? Like, what's the pathway to...
A lot of them cycling and coffees.
I do both of those. So I could be on my way.
Instagram's a lot of cycling and coffee. But I think they do, and depending on, like, some of them, like Will Davison does triathlons and things like that. Tim Slade is I think, very strong in triathlons. But yeah, if you follow them on Instagram, I think they've actually backed off since Russell Ingall was teasing them all about it. But
doing
it's
exercise?
More that they all go and ride together and go and get lattes afterwards, and he was
that's
kind of bagging them for being friends and things like that. Like, yeah, but they train hard. They are actually athletes these days. It's not, Just get out and have a fag and a beer and...
Well, that's what it was in the 60s and 70s, I believe. And even up to the 80s, I think.
Quite possibly, yeah. These days, no, they're very highly tuned athletes.
Now, speaking of highly tuned athlete, our favourite F1 driver, Daniel Ricciardo.
Yes.
Is there a chance that he could come and race in the V8 once he's done doing his F1?
I mean, there's a chance. I don't think his attitude's the same as Webber's. It's a possibility. He has at least driven one, whereas I don't think Webber actually ever drove one.
Super Porsche.
Webber does nothing now.
I thought he was in the Porsche.
He actually doesn't have a competition license anymore.
What happened?
Let it lapse because that part of his life's over. He's a Porsche ambassador. He's still he does things for Porsche, but he doesn't have a competition racing license anymore.
How hard would it be for him to get another one?
I think he'd be pretty right if he wanted one, but
Is it similar to getting a license in Gran Turismo? Because I struggle to get the high-end licenses for that.
In ways it kind of is. Like, there's a process with CAMS where you go and essentially do tests or whatever, and you have to go and race in lower categories. Is it find
the racing line and you've got an A, B and C score?
And
no, then they tell you at the end?
Not quite like that.
And when you miss it by that much, you get to throw the controls on the ground? Gran Turismo 4? God, I hate that game.
I had all the licenses, but
I
didn't manage to do all golds. I only got all the licenses.
I think for me it wasn't gold, it was just trying to get bronze.
Yeah.
Just missing out on...
There were some that were definite bronze, and that was, we're done.
As soon as you got bronze, that's it, we're done.
We're going home. And
like
some you were like...
courses,
yeah,
we're done.
I'm gonna get a gold on this, but yeah. It's similar, you usually have to go and do a few lower categories and things like that, and now they actually have super license points for the supercars too.
Because we discussed that with the different categories.
Yeah, so it's a little bit easier than the F1 say, but yeah, it's easier to apply for a special exemption on these ones as well, but essentially, like in the old days, if you were, if you'd had a successful business or whatever, you could go to, say, someone like Larry Perkins or whatever and go, I want to buy a Commodore, and go and race at Bathurst, and you just pay your entry fee and off you go.
So turning up and just saying, Mark Webber probably helps.
Oh, Mark Webber would be fine. But if you're a successful businessman these days...
What if you're a successful cafe owner?
Bathurst 12-hour.
If you're a successful cafe owner...
You buy a four-wheel drive and you try not to roll it. But that's... top tips from one of our friends that's about to destroy his Land Cruiser that he's just bought. But, yeah.
Maybe next video. Now, I'm just making up stuff now.
Okay.
Are there new tyres this year?
Well, yeah, they have new tyres every day. I think they're essentially the same as what they were last year. Although last year we called them the soft and the super soft.
Yes.
A bit like Formula 1, where we can't have like a medium or whatever because we've got to have a hyper mega super duper soft.
But now they've got like super...
But now V8's the soft is now the hard and the super soft is now the soft. So there's no confusion over the soft and super soft. It's just some races get the hard tyre and some get the soft tyre. And the Grand Prix, actually, you have to race both compounds. But you can't have... If you have softs on the car, you have to have all four soft.
You can't mix and match?
You can't mix
like
and match.
Have soft in the back, hard on the front, and just go... Woo, 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 woo.
No. They try... Well, some smart people, because it wasn't written in the rules, and Paul Morris went, well, why don't we put... We need a... I think it was at Wanneroo, where the rear left... copped an absolute beating, so they put a hard one on the rear left and left the other three as softs while everyone else was trundling around on hards, and because it wasn't written in the rules saying that you couldn't do it, so he did it, and then
that's how I imagine all F1.
They went and changed the rules. Yeah, that's basically how it works in
F1
racing.
works by you do it until you're told off.
Pretty much. And
like how most things are done.
It's like what you used to do at school.
Yeah, and still do.
Or at work. I'll push the limits until someone says no, and then you're like, all right, now I know what I can do. Yeah.
Now, are there any new tracks this year?
Hampton Downs. So in New Zealand, because Pukekohe, they're doing it in their wisdom. They organise the round over Anzac weekend, and there's a rule in Auckland where you're not allowed to have a motorsport. I don't think you're allowed to have a paying sport event on Anzac Day.
Okay.
So all of a sudden someone turned around and said, we can't actually race on Anzac Day. So Hampton Downs is actually just outside of Auckland. So they're moving the round to Hampton Downs, which I've never actually seen anything race there, so I've seen the track map and
it could be interesting.
It could be good. And when you listen to the keyboard warriors on the forums and stuff, you got half the people saying this is like the end of the world, it's the worst track ever, and half the people saying this is the best track, the racing is going to be awesome. So,
but no one's ever seen like a supercar race there.
No, there's never had a supercar race there.
So they clearly know what they're talking about.
Well, the people in New Zealand would have probably watched races being held there, and sometimes you can tell whether it's going to be decent or not, going off what other categories are like. But I've never watched anything there, so I'll reserve my judgment until Anzac Day weekend, and unless I jump on YouTube and try and find some footage. But that just seems like far too much work.
A lot of work.
Yeah.
Save it for Anzac Day.
I don't research that much for these videos.
I wrote down the questions. That's as far as I went. Actually, I did do some research for a couple of questions coming up.
Okay.
Clearly not this one. Do supercars have cup holders?
No.
A lot of research.
They do have drink bottles though.
Are they
dry ice?
To keep them cool?
Yeah, to keep the drinks cool.
Oh yeah.
Actually, the dry ice is for their vests. But yeah, they do. They put ice into the drinks and that.
Oh, nice.
So they have they have a button on the steering wheel that pumps the drink into their mouth.
Is it Pepsi Max?
No.
Could it be Pepsi Max?
That would go fizzy and fire. And some of them do complain sometimes about the drinks boiling and then hit the button and you get boiling water. Yeah.
That's where you need a cup of noodles just next to it.
That's not a bad idea.
Yeah. That would be the food and the water. And
send it through, safety car period, have a bit of cup of noodles, off you go.
And it could be sponsored by Cup of Noodles.
Perfect world.
Why am I not working for marketing?
More sponsors.
Well,
then I could put Cup of Noodles as a product to trial on the video.
Well, actually, that's my next new question. Are there any cool new sponsors that I should be aware of?
Well, it looks like Coke's going to be sponsoring...
Coke?
Yeah, Coca-Cola, not the Colombian special
Coke's going to... That's awkward.
So, as I did mention in the previous video, I'm going to have to try some Coke now. I keep getting told there's going to be a new tool brand. Not that one. Yeah. But there will be a new tool brand on the grid this year. But yeah, it hasn't popped up yet. So, and not the one that's on Scott Pye's car either. A different one. But
it's a brand new.
I'm still waiting to see where it's going to pop up. So, Woodstock Woodstock has been on Chaz Mostert's helmet, but that's like a full helmet sponsor. There's Ned Whiskey that
so you've got a lot.
I'm currently waiting for. This is my gripe. I had to order it in the mail because I can't go to a store and buy it. Yeah, it's apparently been shipped, so it's on its way. That'll be trialled at some point. I think they're the main new sponsors at the moment. I'm sure we'll see quite a few in the coming weeks. We haven't got time for just cookies.
Right, you were just talking. Now, I've got a question, Dave, because I did a bit of research.
Well, that was the idea of you coming on here, was to ask questions.
So the cup holder, clearly I didn't research, nor was the cool new sponsors. So I looked up the Hall of Fame for supercars.
You might know more about this than me.
Well, there's one that troubles me. So
okay.
They mention a whole bunch of people, famous people who've done races.
Yeah.
In 2005, the Hall of Fame introduced a new inductee, Adelaide. The city of Adelaide, Dave. Please explain yourself and your sport why a location was added to the Hall of Fame. See, I know
is Bathurst in the Hall of Fame?
I don't think it was.
I'm surprised. Probably because of the Adelaide 500 that's been such a successful event over the years.
It's
been a very successful event, and I suppose because the city of Adelaide's been sponsoring it.
Well, so, I was confused and...
They were inducted in 2005.
Yes.
So the event was only going for 6 years at that point as well.
I just asked
interesting. I said you'd know more about this than me.
Clearly I've done my research.
I was expecting a question about Mike Raymond, but yeah.
Well, actually,
I
have a question about a race driver.
Yeah.
Colin Bond. Is he related to James?
No.
Okay. Next question then. What is your favourite V8 game?
It's actually really limited.
It really is. I had a look at
this. Yeah, I'm trying to think because I did get one. Was it V8 Supercars? It might have been 2 or 3. That was based off the Torque games.
Yes.
On the PlayStation 2.
They rebadged a lot of the...
I actually... I got a PlayStation 2 for a Christmas present, I think it was. And it actually came, where you get the extra sleeve around and it's like a special edition for a game and you get the box around the box.
Oh, yes.
It was a V8 Supercar box around there. Yeah, and it obviously came with the, whatever, I think it was Supercar 2 or 3. That's probably, I do remember years and years ago buying for the PC, it was like Peter Brock's Bathurst Challenge or something
Bathurst Challenge, yep.
That was the worst thing. It was so bad. It was like someone had driven around Bathurst with a camera on top of the car. So it was an actual...
I don't see anything wrong about driving around Bathurst with a camera day.
It was a video of the track, and then, so it was actually like video graphics But then they'd done like computer graphics of a car that you drove around the track. And I think there might have only been like one other car that was like a AI car driving
were
around.
simpler times, Dave.
But you could do like a whole Bathurst 1000. Like you could sit there for 6 hours like racing one car. And it was, magical. If I recall, it was so limited, like the lines of that you could take. And I remember I'd seen it in a magazine and you had to send away, like I had to get mum and dad to write a check or something like that.
A check? Show your age, Dave.
This is how ridiculous it was. And then like 3 months later or whatever, it came in the mail and I think I played it for about 20 minutes and just went, this is the word. That was like, I never got that $60 back. It was probably.
Have you apologised to your parents for wasting the $60?
No, I had to give them the money. Like I remember having to, like you'd have pocket money or whatever, so it was probably a heap of like $5 notes or something that I'd handed over. Could you please write me a check for this thing that I want to buy?
You're never getting that money back.
I remember doing that with quite a few things back in the day. Like you'd go into mum and dad and like, could I please use your credit card? Here's the funny thing was then years later, my dad used to do that to me. He'd come up to me and be like, here's $100. Can you just tell this person on the phone your credit card details? And then afterwards you'd be like, I really hope whatever he bought was only $100.
Yeah. I do that now to
get a surprise with a credit card in a month. Who spent $1,500 on?
I had to do that to a friend of ours who doesn't want to be on the internet. Frank Walker. Yeah. He'll be joining us.
Mr. Land Cruiser.
Mr. Land Cruiser. Now I think this is my favourite, my final question because
there's nothing over the page.
Nothing. I wrote a number. But then
30 questions is pretty good though.
Yeah, I didn't even answer them all because some of them they were F1 related.
Oh, okay.
I forgot the briefing again. So, what is your favourite combination track race car?
Well, Bathurst would have to be the favourite track.
Yep.
What do you get? Track race car.
Track race and then car.
So what, like a race from the past, or?
Sure, that's what I
wrote. Bathurst 2005 really sticks in my mind. I was sat there with two one-eyed Ford fans, and they were telling me as Lowndes was blazing off into the distance, we've got this kind of thing. And
did they say it was in the bag?
Pretty much, they said it was in the bag. And I remember Scaife and Kelly, they just kind of sat back a little bit, like they let a few people go, and I think they were sitting about fifth, and I kind of went, there was back in the days where you could do that a bit, and I said, they're just waiting towards the end of the day, and that was the day that Lowndes, I think it was Dumbrell, hit the wall, and Lowndes got smashed in the windscreen with his tyre, but that was actually after Lowndes had hit the wall himself anyway, so they were out because of that. I think Steve Richards was one of the guys up the front, and he'd clipped the wall or something like that, and anyway, quite a few other people had kind of clipped the wall, and then it got to the last safety car with like 20 laps to go or something, and sure enough, Scaife and Todd Kelly were in the lead with the late Jace Richards, and I think Jamie Whincup would have been that year in second, and they just drove off and cruised to a victory, and the Ford fans that were sat next to me were very quiet while I sat there with her. I remember that quite well.
So no longer in the bag?
No, it wasn't in the bag for them. So it was basically last man standing, and so that was a really good day. One of my favourite model cars I've got in my collection too. That one.
We need to do a tour of your model cars.
Well, it's been in the background of a few videos.
But we need to go through each one because there's two or three very, very special ones.
Might be a bit boring to watch.
As opposed to this.
I don't know. People are subscribing and watching.
That's true. Yeah, I mean, and I've just asked.
Obviously, you don't watch all the videos because
there's so many of them. I've got other videos to watch too. I'll watch this one because you're in it, not me. I just cover half the screen.
So I've answered all your questions.
You've answered all the questions. I can put this away. We can.
We've enjoyed
some biscuits.
So some of us have enjoyed more than others. I was a bit busy talking most of the time. Anyway, I hope that's maybe cleared up nothing for the
Absolutely
viewers.
Nothing.
It's a bit of fun. If anyone does have some questions, fire away. I'm only happy to answer them or try to. So until next time, I'll see you later.
Your inhibitions, let the beast in you just get loose. We all young, wild, and different. We can all get lit from a little goose. I know you're terrified by what